Look at me.
Um,
I'm new to the podcast world.
but yeah, my life's just been. I don't know. I don't know how to. Sometimes like I don't know how to describe life. I feel like, well, like this past month. Yeah, I guess we can start this past month. Um, I think I told you about my internship, right?
You vaguely mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, so I started that. It's been very like we haven't even started with the kids yet, and it's been transforming. Just like building relationships with people, and it's like helped me kind of step outside my comfort zone in a good way. Because you knew me in high school. What was I like in high school?
I'd say socially awkward. You didn't understand social cues, but
Yeah,
you always tried. So like you were like the person that loved the conversation but couldn't hold one. So it
yeah.
was weird. You would like come
Are
up to
you?
me.
I can't see. Are you in it?
I
You might
think
have to like.
no, my head's in it. Yeah.
You have to lean. Yeah.
Um. Yeah, like you were that person that would come up and start a conversation, and it would only work out like half the time. If that makes any sense, because you were just so awkward all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you for so long that I didn't really like take it
You
in a
didn't
wrong
judge
way.
me.
I didn't
Yeah.
judge you, but I was like, you were just so odd sometimes, and you would insert yourself into conversations that you weren't a part of just because you walked by.
Yeah. I
And
still kind of do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
In
I do it too
conversations.
as well. Like if I hear something that is of interest to me,
Yeah. It's like, oh wait, hold on. I relate to this. Let me go.
yeah,
But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I see. Like I need to like ask people from high school like how I'm different because like I don't know.
I don't think I've spent enough time around you. I think this
Okay. Oh yeah,
conversation's
because this
gonna.
is like the first. Yeah,
You're
it's the first time.
visibly you're a little bit taller and
I'm
you're a
visibly
lot darker.
taller. Oh yeah, because black people get darker as we go. It's actually a fact. I think for some black people
Oh yeah,
get darker.
you're like at least 3 shades darker than when I last saw you. But I already knew that because I you sent me a couple of photos.
But yeah,
I'm lighter probably.
that's been very like it's been a transformational time because just hearing different perspectives of faith is just so enriching, and I feel like it's opening my mind to a lot of stuff. Um, yeah,
That's something that I'm so interested in your perspective of because I struggled with it for so many years of my life, and I do think that I figured it out as far as the simplistic or basic sense of what the gospel is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
really, everyone's a work in progress. So how to implement it and apply it to my life is the thing that I'll be
Like
working on until the day I die.
because I feel like Christians forget that like yeah we are saved, but I feel like we forget that it's like a daily thing too. Like we forget, like I was telling some people today, like we forget that it's a daily thing, that we always need it. So it's not just like at the point of like like when we open our heart to Jesus. It's like that sanctification process. It's like
Yeah, I was I was at work the other night too, Sunday night, and this guy, never met him, or I just met him. He was new, transferred from another store. He's just like telling me that my brain just went blank. What I was gonna say about
that's
that?
fine.
He said faith, sanctification process. Um, dang, how did I forget?
No, you're
Seriously,
good. You're good.
that is terrible.
That happens all the time, like on the podcast,
No, I
like
had
that.
it in my mind. It was gonna correlate for sure. Oh man, I don't know. I was gonna say it in reference to how like sometimes people can really, even people that you would assume or maybe that you know aren't of faith or don't believe in Christ or anything like that, they
Yeah,
can open your eyes in ways that you didn't know. Like God
yeah,
uses them to like
yeah,
benefit your life somehow. Because
yeah.
I do believe that pretty much everything happens for a reason, and
Mm,
so I've been struggling myself with personal relationship with this girl, and
mm,
we haven't really talked much in like a week and a half, and he just randomly was saying some things about how you have to be as a man, and like there were some things that I was like in my mind. I know that I've always been a goal oriented person, and when I spoke with
yeah,
Ronald, he's always been like, you always had a goal in front of you, whether it was a fight coming up or a
yeah,
wrestling match or a weight that I needed to be at.
Like, what's
There,
the next thing?
what's the next thing, right? And then when I didn't have those goals or when I wasn't in wrestling, I lost myself for a while because I identified myself that I'm this, and if I'm
Yeah,
not this, who am I?
yeah.
And that's what led me to
It's
really
kind of
dive
funny. We
into.
kind of talked about identity today. It's kind of funny you mentioned that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's cool because, like I said, we also we're just gonna let it flow. So
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
gonna
That's kind of
gonna
funny.
come out properly. But yeah, I really struggled with my identity in the last 2 years. I don't know if I mentioned, but I went to school 3 different times and
Hmm.
dropped out all 3 times because
Yeah,
I just I don't know what it is. It's not even a difficult process. Like the schooling, it's just the time consumption and the fact that I didn't feel like I was doing it for me.
yeah. You're
And
doing it for like just other people. Maybe not. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say other people, but just like some part of you maybe wanted to try it, but like a lot of people like influence your decision. I don't know if
exactly,
if
yeah,
that's
no, that's
accurate.
accurate. That's
Yeah.
accurate. But now I've always known what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
but I think I think that there's a lot of aspects of it that I didn't understand first,
Hmm.
and it's weird how you can't really be in pursuit of something without first pursuing yourself.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
definitely felt like,
Yeah.
man, the last year and a half, even up to this point, like the last 2 weeks, discovering things about myself that I didn't know. Like, how do I situate things within a relationship? How do I? I mean, I've been really sick, right?
Yeah.
Just not feeling good. My mom texted me Sunday night while I was at work, and she said she just my mom and I have no relationship, and then she just goes, "Oh, she what did she say? She said, I finished the there's like a I don't know if you call it a dresser, but there's like this thing that she bolted into my wall in my bathroom
Okay.
downstairs, and
Like a
she like
cabinet
yeah,
thing.
like a cabinet in my
Yeah.
bathroom. She's like, I finished that, and I hope you're feeling better. And it just like nearly made me shed a tear. As almost cliche or like corny as that is to say, to me it's like I don't really have a relationship with my mom. So when she like reaches out like that and says that she was hoping that I felt better,
Yeah.
it just I don't know, it just invigorates me to know like unconditionally my mom's always going to be there.
But yeah, like
She,
we still like they still care about me, like no matter like what season of life I'm in, or they still they're still always just going to be there, like you said.
yeah,
And
it's like I would love to have that opportunity one day to be that for a child or my child,
mhm.
but I don't even know what it's like the steps it's going to take to get there. But I know that
Yeah,
I know what I do and don't want out of that kind of relationship and how I want to be, relatively speaking.
yeah. I
But
didn't think it'd be windy today, but it's so nice outside.
yeah, the sun is being right on us. It's so beautiful,
Yeah. I
man.
think I forgot what else I was gonna say. But I think with this, the podcast and stuff, like like it's my eyes have been so open to like what men like really need. We need like a voice, and
Mm,
we just need it's just a lot. Like it's just I'm just so like I'm glad I did start because at first I was hesitant to start it because I was like, do people really want to hear about men's mental health? Like, does that even matter?
yeah,
But it turns out like a lot of people really want to and need to talk about it. So I feel
yes.
like it's like
There's
you
such
know
a scarcity of it, and even if 5 more podcasts get open tomorrow, I don't think that it would really fill that void.
yeah,
Where like,
yeah,
whether it's myself or men in general that just bottle up their emotions and don't really know how to express themselves.
yeah,
And there's so many ways to do that, but definitely in a large sense, it just starts with a conversation and
yeah,
just sitting down and being
yeah,
willing to do that and not
yeah,
like demonizing it in any way, shape, or form. Just being like, it's not a man thing or a woman thing; it's a human thing. You can't
yeah,
single yourself out just because you're one gender or the other.
yeah. That's the thing. It's just and I feel like a lot of people might assume that men don't wrestle with our maybe like anxiety, or we don't wrestle with like sense of purpose or identity. But it's like, well, they assume that based on like what they see, but that's not what they see. Isn't all of the whole picture. It's like you got to sit down and like talk and actually work through that.
Yeah, and with anyone in particular, I feel like I look at you and yeah, I've known you for a long time, but do I know you? And you know what I mean? Because
That's the
it's
thing.
such a limited
Hmm.
like even this, however long this goes, it's such a
Yeah,
limited interaction when you have 8 hours of sleep, 16 hours of a day, and maybe 8 hours of those days that you work, 8 hours of
yeah.
the day you're like you got to eat, go to school, get ready, do all sorts of things. Like I'm never gonna like truly um,
That's a good. That's
know
actually a
you
good episode.
to such a large
What
extent.
does it mean to know someone? Like
Yeah,
to actually know someone.
like I've got friends that I'm close with, the friends that I trust. Even you would be one of them, despite the fact that we haven't spoken much in years.
Yeah,
But I only really have like three close friends, and really only two because one of them smokes weed all the time. He's not
yeah,
all there mentally
yeah.
because you can't sit down with him like this.
That's the struggle too with like some people were they're not emotionally present. It's really hard. Like how am I going to develop like a a good relationship with you if you're not like present, if you're not all there, and that's like hard.
Yeah. So that same friend that I'm telling you about sends me on Snapchat, and I have no notifications on any of my social media. I haven't since 2021, like
Hmm.
early 2021, but I do keep it on my phone now for messaging purposes. But that same friend, I've known him since I was 9 years old, and in the last 3 years, he sent me a video every single day of him smoking something, and it went from weed to like cards to dabs, which is just like
Mm.
super intense, like high. He's just
Ooh,
high
yeah,
all the time. So when I try to talk to him, I get I never want to be demeaning or dismissive because I've been talked to and spoken to like that at different points throughout my life, and I'm
yeah,
sure many people have. So
yeah,
I never try to put him down, but like if he mentions it, he'll start like that coping mechanism of I don't smoke that much, but it's like I know that he does from the outside looking in because you're
yeah.
high.
Because they're
I'm
always
trying to
like
talk to you,
they
and
might
you're
always say, well, like I don't do it as much as you think I do, but actually, like I'm too ashamed to tell you that I actually do it more.
yeah.
So it's like,
Or like he was texting me the other day because he sent me another video, and I'm like I sent him on Snapchat. He had sent me a video of something that he bought, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, and your haircut looks good. And then
mhm.
he sent me a video right after of him smoking. I'm like, dude, like you send me one of these every single day, like, and he's like, I don't smoke
Yeah,
that much. Starts coping, and it's not like I was attacking him or confronting him about it. I
yeah,
was just saying like, you send me this every day, almost
yeah,
like to kind of like it's just not something I care for,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he knows that, and I recently managed finally to stop doing it myself. Like probably a little over a month ago whenever I had spoken to you because it was like just I hated the person that I was becoming and I know that I need to be in pursuit in life of something bigger, something that's going to like Im, you know,
So
improve
what
me.
is it like? I so you said you've done it too. Do you mind me asking like what is it? What is that experience? Because I'm like wrestling with like trying to understand some of my some of my friends do, but like I'm trying to understand like what
So I would
is the
describe it
experience.
as it's like maybe those serene like detached feelings.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would say the reason that I was on and off with smoking weed for so long was probably because of social anxiety that I've always had that I never really addressed
Oh, I
from a young
see.
age.
I see.
So I would smoke to detach myself from that social world because you kind of
Hmm.
become a looser version of yourself. Those same social cues that we were just talking about become
Yeah.
less. I guess you're just not as anxious. You don't care as much about your surroundings. You're more fun and loose. And the only reason you are that way is because you care less.
Okay.
And now there's a plethora of side effects that come following that. That's maybe the first 2 to 3 hours where you're just like in this serene feeling. Uh, that I guess would be
So like what does my thing is like what is it? Because
it allows you to escape.
okay, but
That's what I would
but
say.
does it like help?
No, I don't think it helps.
Okay, it's like because because I don't think it does
I
too.
think
I
it's just
think it
another
makes it
one. I
worse.
think it's another one of the many things in this world. It's probably the most normalized now in our
Yeah,
generation,
and
our age.
I'm seeing a lot of like this is not to shame like Gen Z or anyone. I've seen a lot of like my friends in like just Gen Z just kind of glorify weed,
Yeah,
but
it's so glorified now. But do you know what
yeah,
it is? It's because it's the least dangerous that they're like, oh, it's okay.
But
But
they also say it's like least addictive. I feel like it is though.
essentially, and that's another question. I don't know what the definition of addiction really is. I've argued with people that say, oh, addiction is entirely correlated to whether it creates a dependence for it. So like
Yeah,
cocaine or heroin, where you're smoking it and you actually will get withdrawals
yeah,
if you're doing that stuff, and like your body
yeah,
will kind of respond in a way of like, I need this.
yeah,
Whereas weed never makes me feel that way. But I never thought in my life. Now again, I'd have to look up the dictionary definition. I never
yeah.
thought that addiction was entirely correlated to those physical withdrawal symptoms of I need this. I think it's
Well,
more of a mental thing that
I've
like
heard
something
like
can control you.
my friend said it's more of like a psychological addiction, like where you're like, yeah,
You feel like you need it for something.
yeah,
Like I said, for me, it was a getaway. It was an escape. Anytime that my life wasn't going the way I wanted it to, I always had a friend or everyone did it. Every single person,
mm.
like, so because it
Because
was
it's
so
so
normalized,
widespread.
it
So
was
like,
so easy for me to go down the street, go smoke with Ryan. It was so easy
yeah,
for me to like call somebody up,
like
get
hey, yeah,
let's do this, or get so and so to get this for
yeah,
me. And what that was me escaping from the things that I needed to get done
yeah. But
because
also,
I'm
it kind of doesn't it like in a sort of interesting way because maybe like in that point you need like like a sense of like connection, but like you kind of get it through.
yes
Yeah.
through weed.
Okay.
So like that social anxiety can cause you to like have a lower social battery, or that
Yeah.
like in my case I speak that way, right? To
Yeah.
where you don't. I felt like at times I need this. Like sometimes I would do it at work, or I did it a lot within my second relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that it destroyed that because of who I was, because of it,
Yeah.
because I felt like, oh, I'm only me when I'm this. I'm
Yeah.
only
When you're like when you're on
yeah
like
when
weed.
I'm under the influence, and it's like
Yeah.
I think it really, like, I like to correlate it to scriptures, like it has to be a sin because you're not sober of mind when you're high.
Yeah, when you're not yeah, you're not like you're not really present, you're not like aware of things, you're kind of just detached, you're kind of I guess is it like going through the motions?
Yeah, and like people
Yeah.
will cope or lie essentially, or argue and say that it helps you focus or that it helps you recover. There's so many studies just like disproving that.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, it actually does mess up your muscle recovery. It does make you stupid, and it does affect your brain development from like ages,
Yeah.
if you do it up to like 23 and below.
Yeah.
There's tons of studies about it because again, it's so normalized that people want to cope for it, and
Yeah.
it's really a multi-billion
And
dollar industry.
it's like the Gen Z thing. I guess before cuz before I guess like my in my grandparents era, it was just like everyone smokes and like smoking is like everywhere cuz there weren't any like smoke signs. You just go in a restaurant and do it.
Yeah,
But I guess now it's like more like the vaping and like the weed and stuff.
it's more hidden too because there's THC cards that you can get anywhere and
Yeah.
everywhere. It's like, man, I know a kid that just turned 17. I knew him since he was 15. He works with Ronald because Ronald's a manager at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Funny enough, over on Salzburg, and he like he's just, his life is falling apart all because he's like, he just turned 17.
Yeah.
He just started drinking. Before that, he
Oh
was
my
smoking
gosh.
weed.
Yeah.
He's with a girl who's a drug dealer, and it's like he reminded me so much of myself, but
Mhm.
like I found fighting, and that kind of like forced me to like be within that pain, be within that discipline of like, I need this because this
Yeah.
makes me me
Yeah.
more than those things do. Like that
Yeah.
pain is something that I should dwell on because it makes me stronger
Mhm.
versus this temporary satisfaction
Or
of
like kind of like
smoking.
detaching from the pain, trying to like escape it.
Like no, it actually makes me feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
Whereas um, the inverse, what social groups or smoking would do for me was to help me detach from the world that I was in, whether it
Yeah.
was familial or how I'm not succeeding in my combat sports or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I felt the only way to escape, the only way to get away was to be in a social group
Mhm.
or smoke or both. And usually they were correlated.
Okay. Because I'm trying to like think about like people that I've known that kind of like struggle with it. It's just because it's good to get like kind of like an insider's perspective because I can it's easy to like watch someone just be like, okay, why are you doing this? But actually, like, why are you doing this? Like, actually, what's going on? Like, why do you feel the need to 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 use that? And I guess it's like it's a lot. As like from what you're sharing, it's like a lot of different things.
But yes, and because like I'm an example of someone that has like the worst possible effects to where, I mean, some people maybe aren't that affected by it. Like I would
Yeah,
smoke one thing and then I'm just like feel like I'm in recovery mode for 3 days.
yeah,
And also, the whole premise, or I guess the stigma around it, where it makes you lazy, it makes you tired, all this stuff. I believe all that's true. I
okay,
experienced that myself, so that's even
yeah,
worse. Especially wanting to be a productive person who's good with
yeah.
time management.
So it kind of makes you like against like who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And for some people, like my friend that I was telling about earlier, he has autism, so like it kind of amplifies his personality a bit rather than
yeah,
suppresses him and turns him into a different person like it did for me.
yeah,
But I still think it affects his psyche to where he's not able to communicate or socialize in the same way. So
yeah.
there's that aspect of it.
Wow.
But like in life, there's so many different ways to escape. There's so many different ways to get away. But
Yeah, there are
rather
a
than
lot.
just facing it, like in my case, I
I
want to face it with the armor of God.
I think that's maybe where men struggle with is facing what we have to face because maybe if we feel like if we face it then we won't be able to handle it. But like you said, handling it with the armor of God, like He equips us to handle whatever it is, whatever battle that is going on.
Yeah, and I believe 1 Corinthians 15 says that God will not tempt ye above that which ye are able to
Yeah,
handle. So it's
yeah,
like you can handle it, even if
yeah,
it's dreadful and it's terrible and it's hard.
yeah.
It's about walking through that. I,
We just feel like we're not equipped to like walk through like
it's scary.
whatever. Yeah,
It's very scary,
it
especially when
is.
you realize pretty much right after high school, you're like, oh, I'm alone. Like
Yeah.
way more
So like
often than I am with people.
that's like the thing too. It's like I feel like it kind of creates a thing where it's like, okay, we're not normalizing what we're feeling. So like, wait a second, there's something wrong with what I'm feeling, and then that makes you want to crave. I get that makes you crave weed more because you feel like what you're feeling isn't normal. You can't talk to anyone about it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like in the last year or like 2 years, I've gotten pretty good at identifying my anxiety
Yeah,
to where I can say, okay, I'm anxious right now. I'm not liking this.
yeah,
And me also being someone that, like, although I've been in hundreds or thousands of sparring matches, I don't like to be in confrontation. I don't like to fight. Like,
yeah,
if that makes any sense. I love to fight, but I don't like to fight. I don't like the confrontational aspect of it,
yeah.
whether that, especially verbally, because that's something that
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
have in an entirely deep understanding and control of. And it's something that I'm learning so much more about, rather than like fighting is just you control you in that moment.
Yeah, because it's just like even like the word confrontation kind of brings up like, oh whoa,
Yeah, it's like, oh,
wait a
this is
second.
very confrontational. You know what I
Wait a
mean?
second, because it was like how we kind of it was like learned to like kind of like this all this is bad. Naming what I'm feeling is just bad. Is going to lead to more suffering. Confrontation is just too much. So we kind of feel like we're not equipped, and then we take like the easy way out, which is like it's better to numb, because like maybe it's like we're trying to get rid of the feeling, but like the actual problem doesn't actually go away.
Yeah. So like, what do you do in confrontation? Do you get really quiet and like disconnect from the interaction, or like how do you approach someone who's confrontational or just a confrontational experience?
Um, there's a lot of ways that there's a lot. So like sometimes like there's like kind of two sides. Sometimes I'll go quiet and like be like kind of like avoidant.
Hmm.
Then sometimes like I'll be like I'll kind of express myself and say things like that I regret later on. Like I'll say like in my anger, sometimes like I'll like kind of like go off, and that's something that I want to really change about myself is learning to have like because you can argue with people,
Hmm.
but there's a way to do it. Like you don't have to. And I guess growing up with like in our high school and stuff, we kind of like we See, like we don't realize like how much that influences us, because when you see that, like, oh, I have to like win an argument.
Everything is about the confrontation. It's about the conflict. It's almost
Yeah,
glorified rather than just being like, especially when you're friends or you're in a relationship, whatever it is.
it's like,
Even
wait a
with your
second.
parents, it's you versus the conflict, not you versus them.
Yeah, it's like I want to. The goal is like I want to actually grow the relationship with a person, but like in my like immature moments, it's like, oh, wait, I said the right thing. I'm right. You know, it's like it's all about being right, but it's not about being right. It's about like listening. I forgot like what the verse is. It's like be slow to be slow to anger and like quick to listen or something.
I
But
believe
it's
I
like,
believe it's something like that.
but I feel like, yeah, it's like it's real practical. It's like you have to really listen to someone, because even if like you don't totally agree with what they're saying, it's you have to really. It's not about being right. I have to tell myself that all the time. It's like it's
Yeah,
not about being right.
it's I wouldn't say it's never about being right, but like it's almost never about being right.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be because then you're leading with your ego.
yeah.
And that's another thing I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
Like
the ego.
learning ego and understanding. So in the past, within self search and self betterment, I've realized that everybody has an ego. Everybody has
Yeah,
because basically the way it works is like in the middle of the line is the term self perception.
yeah,
Everybody has a perception of themselves.
yeah.
On what we would refer to as the negative connotation or
Hmm.
the word that has the negative connotation for self-perception is ego.
Yeah,
In society, if you say, oh, he has an ego, it's negatively perceived, like,
yeah.
oh, he's got an ego, rather
Hmm.
than he has confidence, which is the positive connotation.
Yeah,
And there's like a thin line between that, as we know,
yeah,
and it's completely subjective, I would say, for who decides whether he has an ego or he's confident, or
yeah.
she has an ego or she's confident. But I think that it's all just boils down to self-perception. And
Because it depends on like how you use self perception, how you use your ego. Like, are you, because you can have like there's nothing wrong with being confident, but like I feel like confidence can also breed like humility, like and just being open to like learning as an adult. It's not like you're like I feel like as men we always feel like we have to know everything. Like I don't
I don't
know.
know anything,
There's a
honestly.
like when you become like when you get into like after high school and like become a young adult, it's like you realize like wait, there's a lot that I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know a whole lot of stuff.
whether it's changing a tire or freaking just,
Relationships and stuff like that. Like there's a lot I don't
I think
know.
the social aspect of things is very like you're just like diving into a pool
Yeah.
of sharks because you have no idea what you're getting into.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just like anything, a workspace, school,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're really getting into until you dive into it, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, here we go.
But I feel like going back to like the ego is like it's definitely it's okay to be confident, but I feel like um yeah, there's like two sides of ego. It's like being confident and then like having what's called a sense of pride. And
Which we know is bad scripturally.
yeah, because pride, like I've always seen pride like just as the like I'm better than you sort of mentality, but like actually pride is like I feel like pride is a lot more hidden than we think in
Man,
ourselves and like
that
others.
have you've probably always heard since you were young, like take pride in what you do, take
Yeah,
pride in how you carry yourself, and it's
yeah.
like, well, how do I correlate that to the Bible that tells me not to be prideful?
Because I feel like well, I feel like there's like different. I feel like there's like a pride where it's like you can be proud of what you do, but then like there's a pride of like I don't need to learn anything.
See, there's
Like
never that because you're never a finished product.
yeah,
You never can be a finished product.
yeah,
You're always going to be a work in progress, and that's when I started trying to better myself. I just realized like that's I guess the start of caring about yourself, to really be
yeah.
like, I'll never be perfect.
Yeah, it's like
There's one man who ever,
realizing that, and then
yeah,
realizing that wait, I actually need grace. That's why I need grace.
exactly.
That's why I
That's
need
why I think
grace.
the Bible's so beautiful because it's like we know as a society, everybody knows the name Jesus.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that he lived. Everybody knows that he died,
yeah,
and even science will prove that. And
hmm,
to understand that he was the only perfect man to ever live is why I was always drawn to Christianity. I was always like, that has to be the reason because
yeah,
no one else has a savior. No one else has
yeah.
a man that's proven to have lived, proven to have died,
And then
proven to have
like
been crucified. Most
knowing
famous
that
man
like
to ever live.
knowing that we we can't do anything within ourselves to like make ourselves good enough or perfect enough. And
Exactly.
sometimes like as Christians we feel like, oh wait, I need to like be doing more, I need to do all that
You can
stuff.
always do more. And you
Yeah.
should always try and strive for better.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you can't be the
Like
standard, and the standard is him.
yeah, we can't be that. Like he does call like he that's why he gave us the spirit. It's just so that cuz we can't do it by ourselves. Like if I was doing it by myself, like I would not be here. So I would
Absolutely.
not be here.
Absolutely. That's the
Um
truth right there.
like honestly, I would not.
Man,
But
especially with anxiety, I think when you realize that he always has the answer,
yeah,
you kind of remove that like you said that natural inclination for a man to always be like, I want to know. I
like
should
I
know
need to
this. I
know
should
like
understand this.
it's like always that like I need to be assured. Like I need to be reassured of the answer. I need to like know everything. And this like it kind of gets like it gets more hectic when you're like after high school when you feel like oh I need to immediately find like my purpose and stuff. You can
Yes.
have like anxiety around that. It's like
Yeah, I had a bunch of that.
it's like well my life isn't looking like Johnny's life over there, so that means I'm doing it wrong.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. And a lot of that is subconscious too. You
yeah,
let it eat you up, and you don't express it. That's where like I think that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because in a way it can work as therapy for me, because I tried for like a good year to get
yeah.
therapy, and like they wouldn't accept my insurance and this and that. So
Oh my
I just
gosh.
I just went through the ringer, like called 8 different places, and just
Oh
everything
my
went
gosh.
wrong.
Like
So
the
I
thing
was
is
like,
like the problem is like yeah, we know we need therapy. It's just like it's so hard. So it's a hard process. It's an arduous process.
yes, oh man, I called up my friend 2 nights ago. He didn't answer, but he texted me. He was like, hey, I wasn't able to pick up the phone. I was asleep. Are you all right? And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And the reasoning I called him was because of this girl that I'm with, and I, I, I hate reaching out, but he's my oldest friend. He's
Yeah.
the one that smokes. He's his older brother. He doesn't
Okay.
smoke. He's like, I kind of look up to him to a certain degree. We've
Yeah.
been watching fighting and training together since we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 25. I'm 20, so he's
Oh,
five
that's
years.
good. That's cool.
Yeah, he's my oldest friend. He's like family to me. I've known him and his family since we were kids. But I will call him in certain experiences. So I was
Mm-hmm.
going through something. Am going through something in particular where uh, I kind of like don't know with this girl that I'm with. It'll be my third relationship,
Yeah.
and I
Kind of
don't
sure
know
you're in
how.
the video. Sorry. I'm making sure you're in the video because I can't see
Yeah,
anything.
I'm all in it. Yeah, I've even
Okay.
adjusted myself to be in it.
Yeah.
I'm like more comfortable leaning over like this because of my back. But
Yeah.
I was just asking him. I wanted to call him and ask him. I was like, how do I approach this situation that I'm in? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm continually reminded every week something happens in my life where I have to come up with an answer that I don't know,
Yeah.
and it starts with like I get into a situation and I have to ask myself certain questions of what do
Yeah.
I want out of this? Who do I want to be? How do I want to approach things?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't act right. I really
Yeah.
a lot of times I don't,
I
maybe
act out of a lot
out
of
of
times I
character.
act out of alignment with like what I actually value. Then
Yes.
like I'm always like, wait a second. I'm always like replaying that because knowing like after I made a mistake, it's like what kind of like geez.
Yeah, like how do you oh man, the anxiety that comes from that, knowing that you messed up. I think
Oh my
I'm an
gosh.
accountable person for sure. I'm like the first person, like I learned at a young age that it's a good quality to have, to be
To
willing to
be
say I'm wrong,
accountable. Yeah.
to be willing to say I messed up here. And
Yeah.
I've always had that quality, but or not always, but like since I was maybe 14, 15.
Yeah.
So within this relationship I'm in, I'm just like I don't know how else to approach it, and I was overstressing myself because of the things that I couldn't control, which was the other person, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's like I'm at a point where I have to just detach and control the things that I can't control. And so what I did was I didn't get a pick up from the phone call. I went home that night and I just was watching a sermon and
Mm-hmm.
reading my Bible and praying. And
Yeah.
that gave me peace,
Yeah.
even though I'm sick and have a number of things that I'm like, I guess, developments in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
If I dwell on the one relationship that's always going to be there, that's eternal, that I can invest myself into, then
Mm-hmm.
nothing else matters. Because I think I personally I did well. any Christian should date to marry, and that's
Mm,
essentially what I have been doing with this girl. But now it's looking like a prospect of she's willing to give up on me, and she doesn't want it because her life got hard. And you know what?
mm-hmm.
That's where I ask myself, I feel it's a disrespect thing. Like if you're willing to give up on your boyfriend or girlfriend because your life got hard, um,
Yeah,
I feel like that's,
because it goes into a question of like commitment.
yeah, like I'm willing to commit through thick and thin, whether my
Yeah,
life gets hard or your life gets
or
hard.
like what is that? What is that person's definition of commitment?
Yeah. So what?
It's
So
like,
now there's all these questions that I have that aren't getting answered because she blocked my
yeah.
phone calls. I can
Oh my
text her. You know what I
gosh.
mean? So it's like I'm over here with
Not
all
when
this
they
anxiety.
ghost you. When they ghost you, it's like so horrible.
Yeah, yeah. Because then you just create all these things in your mind. And for me, I was like, what did I do wrong? This and that.
That's
And
yeah, and that's like the thing about like control, because like I struggle with control too, with just like more personally like in my friendships, and just seeing that like some like someone's the fact that someone isn't reacting in the way that I think they should react is like, well, like dang,
yeah,
did
you
I
feel
did
like
I
you should be able to control what
like
they're
did
reacting.
I like can I do did I need to like explain it in a different way?
I over
Like
explain
what
so much. Yeah,
like do
because
I need to like
I was like, what did I do wrong? Like
yeah.
it's always, I always internalize it. I always
Yeah,
think
oh my gosh,
I said something
I'm
wrong.
a huge internalizer. Like I will like
I'm retrospective and I internalize things,
yeah.
and I let things get away from me because I'm so like, what, did I do this? Did I do that?
Yeah,
I
cuz I'm
over
like the
explain.
first person I'm like I'm myself like okay, I'm the first person to like to be blamed. Like I always feel like I need to because like I guess like cuz it's good to be self-aware, but at the like on the other side of the coin, it's like you kind of sometimes overanalyze things that
And then you,
aren't in your control.
and I feel like in a sense, if you go too deep in that direction, you lose some respect for yourself. Because if you're
Yeah,
always that
yeah.
person that says, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're not as respectable as a human because
Yeah.
you're always thinking that everything's your fault, that everything
Yeah.
falls apart when you're around, um, rather than just like analyzing the situation. And it can be
Like
hard,
there's
especially in the
like
moment.
because a lot of situations, especially like relationships or friendships, are more like you have to look at it from like objectively.
Mm,
Like there's two people. Like as long and I'm trying to tell myself this like as long as I take accountability and responsibility for like what I did, then I I need to feel okay.
yeah,
Even if some like I can struggle with guilt and stuff, like I need to be okay because I'm taking so much of I'm holding the weight of of the relationship all on me,
yeah,
and that's too much pressure.
that's too
Like
much. Yeah,
I'll explode, and I feel like that's sometimes why like I do like have those like explosive or breakdown moments, just because like I didn't like I realize like I'm holding two people, like myself and that person,
yeah,
where it's really like I need to just hold myself accountable, and if that person decides not to, then that's so it has to be on them.
yeah. But then
But it's
at what
hard.
point do you decide that? Two questions. At what point do you decide that that person doesn't belong in your life anymore?
That's a good question.
And then
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
with that question, how do you correlate that, and how does that differ between a friendship and a relationship?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Me too.
That's
Me
what I'm
too.
trying to figure out.
I'm like, how do I know?
How do it's like because it's like well
Because
because
relationships
I want
can't be just about how somebody benefits your life,
yeah
especially because love inherently is selfless, right?
yeah it's like
So
yeah
inherently, I want to give myself to you,
yeah because
but
like I want to represent God to this person,
yeah,
but like at the same time like sometimes like there's like certain situations where like this is like mentally draining me and emotionally draining me, and it's like God does call us to love people, but like He doesn't want us to try to like hurt ourselves while doing it. And sometimes it's like I always like reference like the scripture, like sometimes you have to like shake the dust off your feet, but like it's so like there's I was and then another thing that I'm thinking is like there's not always like a black and white answer.
hmm,
It's just like it's so because relationships and dealing with people is just so messy. And it's just so there's a lot of ambiguity. So it's like
yeah.
I'm always like, looking for like a clear answer. Like, do I like stop talking to this person, or like it's just like
You know, I think that often an answer for me that I don't take enough is silence.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
so many volumes and words can be spoken without
And
ever saying a word.
yeah, that's another thing too.
So
I
like,
feel like I always needed like
do you know how I detach myself right now from this relationship that I was stressed about?
yeah.
That I was sick and I got more sick because I was stressing myself about
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
like thinking about it. What I did, I went home, watched a sermon, was taking notes, praying, reading my
Yeah.
Bible.
Are you still
Oh, no, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're
And
still
and I I heard randomly, I heard like someone say like, "Oh, silence is also an answer. Silence is an answer to
See,
certain
that's the
things."
thing that like we don't think about is like we're always looking for like a yes or no or like something like I need like a sign or
More
something.
communication. You're pulling, but when
I
somebody else is pulling away, it's like I saw a video that was like, "Oh, it's much easier for someone to pull you down than it is for you to pull them up
oh my goodness, that
because of how
speaks so
gravity
much
works."
truth.
But like,
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
like, I'm trying to pull this girl up,
Yeah.
and she's realistically, if I hold on to her, she's gonna pull me down to
Especially
whatever
like
she's going with her.
if you have a heart of compassion for like the other person's like struggles, like you know their struggles and like their there's like say for example like she has anxiety or whatever
Yeah, yeah,
as she's wrestling whatever she's wrestling with, you like have compassion for her. It's like I want to like be patient with this person, but at the same time it's like this is kind of like still they have a responsibility to show up, to communicate and stuff like that. And
yeah.
it's like I feel like for me because like I hate like the stereotype of like okay therapists are like not pushovers but like empaths and stuff, but like because it's true like I'm not like a pushover but like I sometimes like I can make too many excuses for people.
Oh yeah, I'm Mr. Benefit of the Doubt. I'm Mr.
Yes, yes,
That's
yeah,
me right there, Mr.
yes,
Loverman and Mr. Benefit of the Doubt. Doesn't
yeah.
matter what it is. I'm
Cause
always
like
like, because I would hate to be wrong, assuming something, and I
yeah,
still do it
it's like
so
wait a second,
much.
I didn't get my chance to see this person grow. But like, what if I'm wrong? Like we do that so much. It's like,
And on
I,
all levels too. It could
yeah,
be you could assume that somebody's cheating on you with no evidence, or
yeah,
maybe with some. You could assume that someone's pulling away from you, or excuse me, pushing away from you
mm,
with just the lack of communication and
yeah,
not realizing what they're maybe are or aren't
going,
going through.
yeah,
And that's in friendships and relationships. Um, and I think the first realizations I ever had of like you have to see a bigger picture was probably with my mother.
yeah,
Now I don't have the best relationship with her, but I learned a lot about her in the past few years of like
mm,
how she was raised and what she went through and why she can't socialize in the same way that I can. And
mm,
I don't fault her for any of those things because I know that deep down her heart says everything that I do is for my children.
yeah. Her heart's in the right place. It's just like the way that she shows up is differently than
Someone
maybe
else.
yeah someone else. Yeah,
And I can't expect anything more or less of her, especially if I know her heart's in the right place and she's trying her best
yeah,
and always has. And that even more so to where I'm like, my dad wasn't around. So my mother's essentially all I know. So
mm,
with that in mind, it's like I have to just that was the first example in a
yeah.
relationship where I learned to give someone the benefit of the doubt because you have to like really dive into what they're going through and their perspective.
See, that did happen to me like like with a friend because like when he was distant for like the longest time and then like he reached out to me and told me like oh hey I'm like struggling with weed and stuff.
Hmm.
Like I could have like initially like I could have said like well they don't like me as something I did to them that caused the distance, but it was more like what they were going through.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So I don't get it.
Huh?
So what ended up happening with that?
Oh no,
Were
like
you there for this person or no?
well yeah, like I got more clarity on the situation when they reached out
Hmm.
and when they told me like this is like what's actually going on. It's like it's not that I hate you. I just like I hate myself right now. So
At least you can dive into that. I think what caused my well, a lot of things caused it, but my second relationship ended in a large degree because I hated myself and didn't
yeah,
realize it. Didn't
yeah,
realize that like, can you really love somebody if you don't first love yourself?
that's a good question.
I I, I really don't think that you can. I
No,
don't think you
you
can.
can, and I feel like that's why like
If you don't see the value in who you are as
because
a human, that intrinsic value at a base level,
I
how
feel like
could you ever love somebody else?
I feel like that's why things might not last is because like you haven't dealt with like those like true like heart issues that you've been like kind of suppressing,
Yeah,
like that self-hatred and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's like if you if you don't like deal with that, then you can't show up fully and like in a relationship. So
So I'm able now to step back in any situation and say I'm worth so much,
yeah.
regardless of where I'm at, regardless of the fact that I'm not. Maybe a year from now, I'm in a great financial position, living by myself, doing this, doing that. Maybe
Mhm.
that's 5 years removed from now. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know what life has in store for me in the future, but I do know that I'm going to take it day by day. But
That's
disregard
another thing that I
disregarding
agree.
that, I was going to say that like just because I'm not a finished product, just because we haven't
Mhm.
put two and two together and multiplied them, doesn't mean that the pieces aren't there. It's my
Yeah.
job to focus on that because that's what I can control. But I'm not any less just because I haven't got there yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like worth is just believing believing that you're like for me for a while cuz um like I felt that I wasn't worth like good friendships
Mm-hmm.
in my life, and I felt like there was something wrong with me and stuff like that. But it took a while for me to say like, okay, no, I need this just as much as like anybody else.
Yeah, and I've I would say I've become more distant socially, and my social battery runs low really quick. But
Yeah.
even antisocial people have such a big social desire; they just
Yeah.
go about it in a different way. And
Yeah.
it's like because we're social creatures, like inherently, it's hard to not search for uh, like I don't know if this is the right way to word it, word it, but like happiness within others, within our relationships with
Yeah.
others, and how other people view us and our reputation and our relationships.
Cuz there's
And
nothing wrong with that. Like there's not like that's cuz God made us to be like in community and fellowship and relationships.
yeah,
But it's just like it's more of like a balance thing where you're feeling where you have a sense of worth within yourself, not like perfect like I'm not like a perfect sense, but like a sense, at least a sense,
mhm,
and you're able to give the love that you have that you've received from God and that you have from yourself to other people. That's like I feel like that's has that balance because um it's I feel like with men especially like we struggle to be okay with that for our desire to have like friendships because I feel like
you don't want to seem weak. Me,
yeah,
I don't want to seem weak. I don't want to seem like I hate
or
coming
like
off
oh that's gay.
that was
I
instilled
hated
in us.
that
I hated
in
that so
high
much.
school. I'm like oh my
Everything's
gosh,
gay. Everything's gay.
I
So
hated that.
you know how much I listen to Big Time Rush and Justin Bieber and One Direction and uh, Carly Rae Jepsen and
Wait, you listen to
Katy
what?
Perry,
Wait, you listen to them?
all those pop stars, and I always have. But when I was younger,
Oh, I listen to One Direction.
yeah, of course,
I
I love them, and
love
I'll
One
say that
Direction.
wholeheartedly now. But in middle school and high school, or and elementary school, if you said you liked Big Time Rush, One
It was
Direction,
just
Justin Bieber, oh,
oh
you're
that's
gay. Get out of
that's
here. You
like
can't sit at this table.
it's just it takes it's I feel like with that it's like I kind of over time like when you hear that over so much over time like men we don't realize like how much I'm not saying that's traumatic. I'm just saying like if you're conditioned that way like through school and stuff, if you hear that from like other boys and that sort of like rejection, then like over time that kind of strips away at your sense of like humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why like you feel like you have to like you're like 20, you feel like well why am I like hiding like a sense of myself sort of
Yes,
thing,
of course,
because like you've been conditioned to
dude. This is such a great conversation because
you've been
like
conditioned to
I've literally,
It's good because we went to the same high school. Like we had the same. We have like
yeah,
a similar experience with that.
pretty much the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, like I said, like I was saying before, my identity was very much rooted in I fight, I do
Yeah.
boxing matches, I wrestle. This is what I care about. I would
Yeah.
sleep in every class. I
Yeah.
didn't care. Well, I cared about school like at a base level, like I wanted to get A's and stuff, but I didn't put forth a lot of effort. Like I
Yeah.
slept in every single class, and I just didn't because I've oh it's weird. Like I was like 12 years old, and I was like I'm gonna be in the UFC. I'm gonna fight.
Hmm.
And then it was like I detached myself from that because of what my mom wanted or because what my uncle wanted and my
Yeah.
brother wanted. And
Yeah.
I've refound it because I started training again. I realized training wasn't just what it leads to, which is fighting on a big stage in front of tens of thousands of people,
It's a good
and
process.
it's the fact that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you have 6:30 to 9:30 that you're training, and maybe Saturday morning. Like this is my current schedule right now,
Mhm.
and I'm not doing it today because I'm sick. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and I was like, yeah. With that in mind, it's like it was the discipline. It was
Mhm.
that because my life, a lot of Gen Z kids and a lot of people that grow up in the United States, our life is so easy. Like
That's
food
true.
is
I feel like
provided for
that's
you. You don't have struggles. Maybe like you're
yeah.
impoverished depending on where you grow up, like maybe from Homewood or certain areas, you understand that aspect of it, but there's
A
so
lot of
many
things like
assistances.
handed to us.
Yeah, because even in poverty here, you have food stamps, you have
Yeah.
you have social security. There's so many things that help you in this country, and we have it so good. If
Yeah.
you're from like the worst hood in the United States, that's still better than like the best slums in the favelas in Brazil,
Yeah.
the best places in the streets in South Africa, the best
Mhm.
places like in the corners of Nigeria or
Yeah.
Lagos or Lagos, Ghana. Like
So I feel like
there's
we don't have like a reference for how to deal with like pain, whether it be emotional or physical. So
because
we
we haven't dealt with it throughout our lives. Like
yeah.
and I think that we get demonized for that by older generations of like,
Yeah.
oh, you Gen Zers or you millennials don't know. But it's like not only did you raise us,
Yeah.
you didn't put us through it. And like
Yeah.
my brothers are so different than me simply because they didn't go through fighting. They didn't train in
Mhm.
those slums rooms and have to go through blood, sweat, and tears
Yeah.
with like professional fighters and stuff. That made me who I was. That forged me like iron, and I needed it. And the Bible says that like war forged men like in those times, and so many different things make men stronger. And I,
Mhm.
I think that does God tempt you? I don't think so. I
Just
think
got wait, what?
does God tempt you or
Oh
does he
no,
test
no, he
you?
doesn't. Yeah.
I think he tests you.
Yeah, he tests. That's what like recently has been like going through like a lot of like crazy like oh my gosh, the first was it 2 years of college had a lot of crazy situations,
Yeah.
and I, like through it all, I just realized like at the end of the day, like my faith grew so much within those situations because it's through those situations, through like that pain and like through like those trials that we build our faith muscles. We build that up
Yes, because the
because
mind is a muscle too, and
yeah,
I neglect that so much myself.
yeah,
And the mind is a muscle that will always grow. There's a
yeah,
cap off. There's something called myostatin, which is like
mm,
a gene in pretty much every human that prevents you from building muscle past a certain point because our
yeah,
bodies are supposed to be cardio based.
yeah,
So we're not supposed to get super muscular or anything because
mm,
we're supposed to be able to like I guess through adaptation over the however many thousands of years, we're
yeah,
supposed to be able to till the grounds and travel and be on the land just as God made us. So
yeah,
like the myostatin gene prevents us from building a certain amount of muscle. So your body will cap off.
yeah,
It will give up on you, but your
mm,
mind will always be able to grow in this life.
yeah,
So it's like if you approach everything with a growth mindset, whether it be finances or anything, like when you approach it with like maybe I can get 1% better this day,
yeah.
maybe I can improve in this aspect.
Like we talked about earlier, like we're not like a finished product.
Yeah, so it just becomes so much more invigorating because I know that when
Mm,
I walk into work, yeah, I work at Applebee's, yeah, I'm a cook like in the back,
mm,
and I do a lot there, but the reality is I do feel very what's the word, I feel very worthless sometimes. Like this
mm,
doesn't mean anything. Like
yeah,
I'm not affecting other people's lives by this. I'm just cooking their food.
yeah,
But then I realized like I'm representing myself every time I walk in there. I went in sick as a dog 3 days in a row. I stayed away from people so that I wouldn't get sick.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that showed me that like even at my worst, I'll show up and do my best.
yeah.
And
Because it's like who you're representing. Like you have like a sense of like character and like integrity and like how you carry yourself.
yes, and I know that just because I feel bad, like that's a big part of what makes you a man. Like you can't just decide against something because you don't feel good or this or that. You have to make choices that intrinsically,
See,
morally
that's the
are
thing.
important.
That's the thing that we struggle, like me included, like I struggle with is like making decisions based on like how I feel.
Hmm.
It's like, well, I feel this, so I'm just gonna do that. But
Yeah,
it's just. you have to make decisions based on the values that you have. It doesn't matter like how you feel. It's you make because like we're always like I feel like a lot of things that we struggle with is like short term like gratification. It's
It's
like
so prevalent, more
if I
prevalent than ever before.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
and the fact that sin is easier and more accessible now today
yeah
than it will ever be in the history of
yeah. Oh, I
mankind.
don't have my phone's right
The phone's right there.
there.
My phone is in my pocket. It
Yeah,
is so
especially
easy.
like with like pornography and stuff. It's just
Yes,
it's
that is the biggest
so
struggle of men. Biggest struggle is lust,
it's
and
it's it's a lot. It's everywhere.
yeah, it's so rough. And the only answer, the only way out is Jesus. It's the only way.
I remember we were when we were like when we were in high school and like that was like I feel like it's like a cool thing though.
It
Like
was
in high
so cool in high
school,
school. Yeah,
it's like oh like look at me and it's like it's so cool to do this, but it's like actually it's actually affecting your brain and stuff. But like we don't know
and
that because it's like
it's wrong. It's disgusting. I mean,
yeah
think about in I don't remember what chapter in Matthew. This is where I need to get into my where I think it's like Matthew 5 or Matthew 8
yeah
where Jesus says to the Pharisees like if you look upon a woman with lust in your heart, you've
mm-hmm.
committed adultery with her in your heart. It's like, "Oh, you're no better like just because let's say a famous influencer who's an
Mm-hmm.
attractive man with a lot of money and
Yeah
has sex with a lot of women. He's bad and we can sit here and judge him, right?
yeah we can do that
But what do we do?
yeah
how how often do I have to like tell myself to prevent myself to not look at this woman or not
yeah
feed into the lust? Because if I'm getting attention from women, it's like how do I not
not
feed into that?
yeah
Because even if you feed into it, maybe that's a step towards because Jesus said like lust is the one thing you can't
mm-hmm.
fight it. You
yeah
can fight lying, you can fight stealing, you can fight
mm-hmm.
murder, you can fight a lot of things and defeat it. But
yeah
you can't win against lust.
yeah
David, King David,
that's funny
King David, quite literally, his moniker in the Bible is the man after God's own heart.
yeah
He's one of the great. He was the king of Israel, handpicked and chosen from a child by God Himself,
mm-hmm.
and he's one of the greatest men to ever live, like on this planet. No hands, no like, like no doubt.
yeah
But he also made some of the greatest mistakes a
yeah
man ever could make, and
yeah
all stemming from lust.
yeah
It controlled him and destroyed
it
him.
kind of like it kind of started off as like something small and it like kind of
It escalated, and it's
yeah
like everyone knows that story because
mm-hmm.
it's almost it shows you the grace of God that even through all of that, he was able to change
yeah
and literally write like 80% of the Psalms and like
yeah
just as many of the Proverbs. Like the Holy Spirit worked through him
but then we
despite all.
glorify these people like oh look at how great they are which like they did great things but I feel like sometimes we forget their their darkest moments like
You mean like King David or
yeah
King
like King
Saul?
David and then like people like Noah like you read like after the ark like how he was drunk and stuff and like people don't like I feel like we don't like I don't know I feel like we don't talk about
The
that
only
enough
reason that they're able to do such great things is by the grace of God. It's by
yeah
God's strength, and we have to
exactly
really dwell on that. Yes, I can look up to King David. I
yeah
mean, he lived thousands of years before us, and like there's so many aspects of it that you can't really correlate to today's society.
yeah
But the way that I wanted to correlate it to is I wanted to say if King David, a man who's literally given by God the moniker
mm-hmm.
the man after God's own heart, who's one of the greatest men to ever live, if he will fail to lust because he can't control himself,
What makes you think
that you can
that
fight it.
you're any
No way,
better
no way. And that's
yeah
why I tell people that I have an ego. I tell people that I can't, that I need it checked, and that I need that without God, without discipline. So like for me, it's like God,
yeah
training. If I don't have those two things, God in particular,
yeah
I'm nothing.
yeah
I'm
that's the
literally
thing
nothing.
too yeah
So it's like that. That's the only way to defeat porn, lust, anything
yeah
is through God. And I think
yeah
that that is such a broad spectrum thing to say rather than just saying it just starts by opening the Bible when you don't want to. Because the truth
yeah
is, most of the time you're not going to want to, especially early on.
yeah a lot of times you're just not like you're not going to it's it's hard to explain because like my perspective is that God will meet you like where you are and
Hmm.
sometimes like and I've had a lot of experience with this. With just I've been I didn't really mean to read something, but like when I read it, I feel like God is speaking to me.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Like how like the word is like what is it? The word is alive or something. It's like
Yeah, absolutely. And Jesus called himself the Word.
yeah,
And if Jesus is perfect, then the Word is perfect,
yeah,
right? So it's literally alive right in front of you. So
yeah,
it's like asking you will receive.
yeah,
And that also correlates to how if you can't be trusted with little, God won't trust you with much.
yeah.
It's like you have to value everything and be grateful for everything that you're given because
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. That Bible matters more than anything else in this world will because you're
Yeah.
taking that with you. Everything that every word that you read,
It's like in your heart and it's also active.
yeah, all the rewards that you get from it too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about in this life. I'm talking about like when you're saved and you do, um, like you bring forth fruits of labor towards God and you do things for God in this life. He's got rewards for you that I'm not talking about in this life. I'm talking about in the next
Yeah.
life, where it's really easy to stray away from that because we're so caught up in the things of the now.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
these maybe 80, 90, 100 years got nothing on the eternity that we're going to live after
Yeah.
this. And I'm like continually reminded of that, like being in the hospital, my freaking airway is closing shut. I'm like, man, I could have died right there. All the doctors are telling me I could have died.
You know what? I had like a horrible case of the flu. It's like what January or something.
Mm,
I was out of commission for a week,
yeah.
and I still didn't like. I still felt weird like for a little while.
Mm.
And if honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was going to die. Like I felt like I didn't.
I got the
I was kind of scared.
I got the flu last January, so 2024, and I felt the same thing. Like you literally feel like
I was
it's your
kind of scared.
body's
Like I never
dying.
had something like that. I was really like, I was like, am I gonna make it out of this? But like for like a short period of time, like my life changed, and I wasn't like I couldn't go to couldn't go to school like on campus. I had to like I was here like I was at home, and I was just kind of by myself. But like I kind of like I enjoyed that like just not like the sickness, not
Yeah, that part sucks.
but I enjoy like being able to like reflect on my life. Like I came out of the flu a different person because like it wasn't just like a regular like flu. It was just like I couldn't move out of bed type flu.
It makes you value things. I feel like
Yeah,
it
it makes
makes you
me
like,
like value my life more than I couldn't like because like before I was like not that I wasn't like going through emotions. It was just like not thinking about life because like I was kind of like I couldn't move. So it's like now I'm so thankful to move and to
to be able
breathe.
to go on a walk.
When you first breathe after like after the
Yeah,
flu, it's like
man, it's terrible. Yeah,
yeah.
I had pneumonia in seventh grade. I remember it to this day. It's just like even just being able to take a deep breath,
Yeah.
like we take that for so much for granted. Like especially when you train your whole life, like I have. Like I just anytime that I can't. Like the other day, I think I ran 3 miles in like 30 minutes. It was like a
Hmm.
jog, and I felt terrible. And I was like, man, that's a terrible time. I never do
We
that
have to
bad.
go hiking.
Yes, we do. But then I sit back and I'm like, you know, at least I can breathe. At least I can run.
Yeah.
And then I got more sick, and I'm like, okay, I need to just value my ability to do anything
Yeah.
because,
Then it also like allowed me to value rest more because like I'm a person that like I didn't realize this really till more so recently. It's like I feel like I always need to be doing something or whatever, and I didn't like really value rest
mm-hmm,
because I was prone to burnout, just low energy and stuff. But like when I was sick and I had the flu for like a week, I was like, there's so like much importance of rest and just doing nothing. Like I feel
yeah,
like we're constantly stimulated.
mm-hmm,
It's like it's okay to like do nothing, like
yeah,
just be in like a space where um because it was during the winter, so like I kind of like it was like the first time since like I couldn't literally do anything, like, I couldn't go back to like college, like campus. I was like, I'm just gonna go on a hike. I went like to some areas, like it was like a winter hike, but it was just so cool. It got me like more because I'm a huge nature person, and it got me more into nature and just more into just really being in the moment because that can be like it still is hard for me because like having like that, either like overthinking or like social anxiety
Mm,
for a while was like kind of hard to be present with
yeah.
people. It's like
So have you gotten to a point now? Because it seems like in this conversation that you've removed that aspect of things. Like you're much more able to be
oh, like
present.
from high school.
Oh man, so much.
I would say it's
We would have
got
got 5 minutes in before, and you would have said something crazy. I would have been like,
because you
okay.
know what, I think that was like I don't know what to call it. I don't know if it's like it's not a defense mechanism. It was just more of like I'm uncomfortable, so let me like do something to like exit the situation.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was just like that like anxiety response. And oh my gosh, social anxiety, like I'm glad that you mentioned that because it's such a huge thing.
yeah. And like, I feel like I haven't been around enough confident people in my life to really say like what the opposite looks like what that social
Yeah,
confidence looks like. But I
yeah.
know from experience what social anxiety looks like. So it's like I sit back and I'm like, okay,
Like I don't think like the opposite of like social anxiety is like total confidence. I feel like it's, am I able to be present with you in a conversation
okay,
without like, I don't know, like doing the thing I used to do,
you kind of
which,
like spaz out.
yeah, like am I able to do that? And I think like the reason like why I did that back then is because I was like, there's so many things going through my mind with like social anxiety. It's like this person's like not interested in what I'm saying, so let me like awkwardly.
You know, I still to this day have trouble talking to females because I feel like
Yeah.
there's always that thing in the back of my head, like, oh, does she think I'm trying to flirt with her? Does she think I'm doing this?
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas like with guys, it's like I'm a pretty masculine presenting man, like
Mhm.
visually speaking. So there's never like that thought of like, oh, he's being weird or anything like that.
Yeah.
Not not,
Mhm.
not that there would be. I'm just saying like with females, it's like you don't know their intentions as
Yeah,
much as
you're
you
like
do with
kind
a
of like
guy.
you're thinking about like where are they, what's going on in their mind, like
And I never want to get played or used.
yeah.
But just what I mean in general is, so I was talking to a lady at work. I found out she was 34.
Oh,
This was
okay.
Monday night, so it's Tuesday now, and she looks like she's my age, 20. But yeah,
Yeah.
I found out she's 34. She just started talking about wrestling, and
Mhm.
I've like never really spoken to a female about
On
wrestling.
wrestling,
So like,
yes. Yeah.
she's like, "Oh yeah, I got kids." I'm like, "You got kids?" She's like, "Yeah, my one daughter's 15. My one son
15.
is 14." I'm like, "Wait, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking." Like, I'm not trying to be weird. She's like,
Mhm.
"I'm 34, honey." I'm like, "What?" So then
Yeah.
she just starts showing me videos of her oldest daughter like wrestling. She's
Mhm.
going through the moves. She knows all the words. They basically, her son and her two daughters have been wrestling since they were like two, and
Wow.
her one daughter who's just turned 15 is the third. Yeah, she just placed third in nationals in
Mhm.
freestyle. So, and in Pennsylvania, being the strongest, like we are the best state for wrestling in the whole
Mhm.
country. If you're even an average wrestler in Pennsylvania, you're the best. Like this is the best wrestling state. So to
Yeah.
be good here means you're a monster. You're the best in the nation.
Yeah.
So to hear that her daughter is third in nation, like I just like back and forth about, and I'm like terrible. Like I feel terrible, and I just couldn't stop talking because she just
Yeah.
interacted with me. And then where it got weird was she kept asking me. She asked me 6 different times. Uh, you should really come to one of my daughter's tournaments.
Mm.
And I was like, well, before that, she asked me, she's like, where do you train? And I said, Mat Factory. You got the whole thing right here.
Well, but
I
like
said, Mat Factory. And then she's like, you should really come to one of my daughter's things.
yeah.
And I'm like, to me, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Because that could like but the thing again is like that could mean different people can interpret something
No, 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 let me
differently.
tell you why I interpreted it. So there's two more things that she said in
Yeah.
context with that. She goes, because all the guys that I date be uh, like they don't know, they're all preppy and soft. They're not like you where you trained your whole life. Like you know the names, you know the words, you do it still. You still
Mhm.
train MMA. So like she would cling on to you like no one I've ever been with, and
Yeah.
which to me, by saying that she's alluding to like wanting to date me or something.
Yeah, by saying all that.
And then
Yeah.
she goes, yeah, she would cling to you. She would be like all over you, and she would never want to like in a social sense because she'd actually be able to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm closer in age to your daughter than I am to you. First of all, second of all, I've got a girlfriend,
Yeah.
but it's just like I didn't notice it. But then I looked over at another dude I was working with online. He like kind of like nodded at me and
Like,
like
yeah, this
confirmed. Like I was like,
something's
oh
like
okay.
what's going on
And
here?
like, I didn't make it weird. And she
Mhm.
just kept showing me photos and videos of her daughter hitting lat drops and takedowns. And her
Yeah.
daughter's a beast. But it was just like, and then it was cool. It was a cool conversation. I dwelled on the part that I could control, which was just like that I'm passionate about wrestling.
Yeah.
This lady is passionate about wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the cool part. And I kind of just
Like
disregarded.
they're like their their boundaries are kind of like having has nothing to do with like with you and your intentions,
Yeah, I just
because you know your intentions.
so the sixth time that she asked me in the span of like 2 hours, I was like, yeah, I might end up seeing you at a tournament, like coincidentally, but I just wouldn't be able to like actually go just to see you. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh really? And I was like, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, can't do that. And she was like, okay. And then she just continued the conversation. So I was able to
Yeah.
disengage it
Yeah.
in the proper way. But it was just like like I said, I dwelled on the passion aspect of it, where there's
Mhm.
like probably nothing I'm more passionate about than fighting. So
Yeah.
she starts talking about wrestling, and like then she started asking me like, oh, and there's this boxing coach that goes to all of my daughter's wrestling matches, and he's been trying to get her to box. I'm like, I told her I was like, if you get your daughter to box, she's gonna be a world champion because the like for I was just giving her examples of
What
what to
time
do
do
and
we have?
stuff.
So I don't want to cut you
It's
off.
definitely been over an hour,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
but that's regardless of that. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. But
We
you
have to do like
another one more
another.
more topical, I think, or at least
Yeah.
like we can pick like 3 topics because this one we've been all over.
But that's good though.
Yeah, it's
It's
fine.
kind of like the first time I've kind of done that, which is like it's kind of
Yeah,
chill.
because I know on your older ones you always had like a topic and
Yeah.
then you would just go through it for like an hour and
Yeah.
20 minutes. Whereas this one we just
Because like I feel like it could be limited sometimes with just like a topic, but
yeah, like let's circle
yeah,
back, and it gets super redundant,
yeah, repetitive.
and you're just like,
Yeah.
can we switch? So
Yeah.
I think it would even be good to just be like these 3 things. Let's try to dwell
Yeah.
on
Next time.
those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, we can like I can like we can continue talking.